it's supposed to feel.
Okay, well, we're gonna get started here. Working on getting this timing cover off, finally get to the front of the motor like I've been talking about. So we'll get this tensioner off of here, belt tensioner, and the lower radiator hose, and get that cleared out. Then we'll start going through getting this off. $15mm on the tensioner. Well, hopefully we can get the rest of the motor here disassembled in this episode, at least down to where I want it. Been a little time consuming because I'm not used to having to run a camera and do that kind of stuff while I'm working on the car. Normally I just blaze right through this, you know, and trying to edit and, you know, edit my mistakes out of there. So hopefully you guys can learn from that. Because I am far from perfect. But we'll try to get this sorted out and move through here. So all your bolts holding the timing cover on are all 13mm. Like I said, some of them don't need to come out, but if they're long, you know, your water pump's only like a 1/2 inch wide here. So if you got one that's longer than 1 inch, it probably needs to come out. And there's quite a few of them. Roughly, I remember it's 13, but we'll check it as we go. You can kind of tell instantly when you pull it apart. If you look, you know, get it unscrewed a bit, you look down, you can see threads. It probably doesn't need to come out. Most of them are shouldered. Be like this one. This one here, you can already see threads, and it's only out 1/4 inch, so that one probably doesn't need to come out. So we'll put it back. If I remember right, it was like every other one around the perimeter of the water pump, but it's been a little bit since I've done one. Yeah, see, it's out 1/4 inch already, and you can see nothing but shoulder, so it needs to come out. This one I'm pretty sure does not, because it's I can feel the back side of the timing cover. It'll go down, straight down from that one. It's a long one, so we'll pull that out. Or at least loosen it up. I just leave them in there, you know, back them out 1.5 inches or so. One down here at the very bottom by the oil pan. Both sides. Actually, I forgot I gotta get that hose out of there. It's still in my way. Sorry if my shoulder's in the way, but so yeah, let me get that hose released. A big channel locks here. Loosen that clamp to slide it down an inch or two. Get your handy screwdriver. Put the hook on the end. Give that a little work around. Try to break that seal loose. It's got a bunch of antifreeze in it, so I'll probably make another mess. Yeah, it's gonna have some antifreeze left in it, so be cautious. Make sure you keep your dogs and critters out of the antifreeze if you spill any. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loosened up so far. Right above the one in the oil pan. One here right below the alternator mount. It's a long one and it does have threads on it, so, but it's also got a, you can see there's like a spacer where it goes through spaces between the bolt and the back of the head, or I guess it'd be the front of the head, but the back of the mount. So that one needs to come out. The one right above it does not. You can see it's short. You can see the back side of the timing cover there. And then there's one hidden right below this idler pulley, just on the bottom side of the water pump there. It's got to come out. There's that one. One dead center right below the main water pump pulley. It has to come out. Ding. Whoops. We'll get that after a bit. See one right below the tensioner mount. Pretty sure that one needs to come out as well. So I think we have all the main bolts off the front of the cover, and then there's 3 from the oil pan up into the bottom of the cover, down below here. They're 10 millimeter, so you'll need like a I use like a couple extensions, get about 8 inches of length to get below the pan and pull those out. I'll take you down there and show you. Okay, here we are down below. Kind of see the timing cover. There's your crank, and then right below, see these bolts right here. There's 1, 2, 3 in a row. Those are the ones. You can get to them just behind this front cross member, like I said, with a couple long extensions. 15 millimeter. This one here, missed it. Okay, so before I paused that, I found there was 5 bolts across the bottom. See, that's why I'm doing this, so we can all go through this together, because I forgot, it's been a while. But there's 5 bolts across the bottom of the oil pan. I need to come out. They're all 10 millimeter. And then I forgot about this one right here in front of my eyeballs. It's 15 millimeter, looks like a little stud. Got to back that one out. So a little tap with a rubber mallet, she should come out. And also make sure you got some pans underneath or some rags, towels, whatever, because once you pop this loose, any of the coolant that's like in the heads, left over in the water pump, it's going to find its way to the ground or in the oil pan. So you got to change oil after all this deal too. So your trusty little rubber mallet, we'll give it a tap on the backside here. So, hear all that extra antifreeze coming out. Make sure all your bolts are like still hung up on the peg over there. There we go. It's got alignment pins on there. Slide her off the front of the crank. Oh, my seal. Rubber seal's hanging on. There we go. So if you can see that, bowl hole, bowl hole, bowl hole, one there, one there, one there, one there, just above that water pump inlet on that side, right above the idler there too. So above the idler, below the idler, bowl hole, 5 across the bottom. Hopefully that'll help you find them. Make sure you have a replacement seal. It might be okay. It's pretty compressed. Like I said, she's got 140,000 miles on it. So get yourself a new seal, new crank seal. Comes in the kit. Go ahead and get these valve covers off. 8mm bolts. You'll need a deep socket and probably a wobbly universal joint and whatever extension you like. I use long extensions to get these ones down the backside because they're pretty tight to the inner fender panel and the coolant tank, and then that side over there as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and buzz these valve cover bolts out. I did find I didn't have an 8mm deep, but 5/16 is American equivalent. So to get these busted loose, got a universal here, get down into a couple of these along the side, you'll need that. Let's get these busted loose and we'll go on from there. Okay, so as you can see here, I just have a long, probably 18-inch or so extension on my 1/4 inch drive ratchet. And you can shoot pretty much straight down in here for this. Don't know if it's going to zoom in on this back one, back driver side. And then these ones, oh, my finger's in the way here. So these ones here, you can just shoot down here with your universal on the deep. And this one here, the next one, you gotta sneak down between them lines, all these hoses and everything, and you can get in there with your universal. And then the front one's straight, so it won't be too bad. Okay, now I got all the driver's side ones loosened up. You will need some sort of prying device to get this deal off, because they get glued on there pretty darn good just over time. So we'll try my handy dandy nail bar. Let's kind of get under it and give it a pop. But see, she popped loose. Shouldn't be too bad. Get the rest of the way removed. Yeah, because you got rubber seal here, goes all the way around the perimeter, and then your spark plug tubes, the inserts down below, there's a rubber seal on the bottom of that. So all those things just over time just get glued on to that cylinder head. With everything loose, you should be able to just give it a few wiggles, make sure you don't have any threads biting in. All these bolts are kind of captured. I mean, you can't pull them out. You get your rubber bushing, and then the bolt is captured into that rubber bushing. But most of the time these are stuck in there pretty good. They don't just typically pull right out. Sometimes they do. So I'll go ahead and pull them out on those bottom ones if we can. Oh shoot, see? I missed one. One right there behind that hose. Didn't even see it. Because they're straight across from each other. So there's one down here behind this AC line. This little guy here. So you kind of shoot down between the water reservoir with your universal and the long socket. You get on that, pop that one loose. Clamp on this coolant line down here almost gets in my way. Okay. Wrestle around that AC line. Took the wiring back out of the way. So now that I got that valve cover off, see the rocker gear here. So the top closest to your intake is your intake rocker shaft. You can tell that your rockers are stamped with an I all the way across, so you got 4 of those closest to your intake. Down below is your exhaust valves, closest to your exhaust manifold. So they're on the bottom. Okay, we'll go ahead and bust the passenger side loose. I like these little lights there I get them at Home Depot. Magnetic on the bottom. Got 3 settings and you can get them right in there where you're working. Pretty handy. And they're not too expensive, so if you leave one stuck under your inner fender panel, you work on your car and drive away, and it's not there when you get back, it's not a huge loss. Don't ask me how I know that, but I do. Back to the universal for this top one on the very back side there. Shoot down in here over this. This has to do with fuel pressure, like a vapor monitor or something like that. And then this bottom one, it takes some wiggling, but you can shoot between the wiring. There's a wiring on my car. There's this wiring with red loom on it. You get between that and black loom. Kind of wiggle her down in there. And you can get it on there just like that. A little trick. But you really got to have this long extension with the universal. Just screw that deal all the way out. And then don't pull hard or you'll drop all your stuff down underneath the car. This one here, no, I think you gotta go behind the big loom, if I remember right, over the top of the brake line. Battle. This is like part of the hardest thing right here, getting these all out and broke loose. But hopefully with some tricks here, how I did it, maybe it'll make it easier for you guys if you decide to tackle the cam swap on a Hemi here. And she's loose. Then you just go up a little bit and do the next one in line. Yeah. See? Just lucky enough, it'll pop on there. So you can kind of see I'm down behind the wiring loom, over the top of the brake line, shooting in there. My lights in the way now. Okay, that one's all the way loose. This one here you can just shoot down over the top of your wiring loom. It's a bad angle, but you just go slow and don't try to bind up your universal. Okay, got that one. That one's pretty tight to the bracket here for the computer and stuff, computer and power in there. So with those all loose, I'm going to cheat and throw on the power. Handy pry bar under one of the bolt bosses there. Give her a pop. Hanging up, maybe. this one back here in a bad angle. It's just catching the thread trying to. Jeez. Just one thread caught. Hold up the whole deal. As you can see, everything gets hung up in here. It's all this wiring. Here we go. Studs were catching on this vapor line here. Looks like I also knocked that off the rack. Okay, we'll go ahead and get this oil pump unbolted. So here's some 13mm bolts around, and then I believe it's a 10mm bolt holds the pickup on the bottom side. Once you get this unbolted, you can rotate it around a little bit and get a wrench under there and get that off. Go ahead and pull all the way out. I won't be reusing this pump, but I want to save the bolts. So after you get your pump broke loose, you get your wrench, and it's a 13mm. I was wrong earlier. You can get under here and get that pickup tube loosened up. One bolt. You can, once you get it loose, you can rotate this out. Unbolt this pickup tube from the bottom of the pump and just kind of leave her hang there for now. We'll just pickup tube will just sit down in there, and there's pump. Of course, I'm making a mess. We're not going to reuse this, so we'll put it in the junk pile. Be sure to save your oil pump pickup bolt. Okay, now that the oil pump's out of the way, you can see all your timing set here. We're gonna put the crank bolt back in so we can turn the motor over. Okay, so as you can see, you got the crank bolt in. If you look right there, you see timing mark. So you want that at the very top, pointed straight up with the center of the engine block. And that should be top dead center. You want to make sure your both your rockers on number 1 are in the valves closed position. So there you go. You can see the little dot right there at the end of my light. That's at the very top, pretty much straight up. Both of my valves are closed. That's top dead center. So we're going to go ahead and disassemble the rockers and get ready to pull the heads. So it's got 5 10mm bolts for both intake and exhaust, so 10 bolts per side. If you're going to reuse your rocker assemblies, it's good to keep them in organized per side so they go back on where they came from. Same with your push rods if you're reusing those. They recommend keeping them numbered, or however you want to do it, per cylinder, so they go back in the same lifter they came off of if you're going to reuse those. Now if you're going with on an early model Hemi, if you're going to like a Comp Cam Stage 3, HHP recommends using 6.1 push rods. So man, HHP sells those push rods if you're going that route, but if you're doing something different, you'll need to verify that your push rods are right when it comes to that point. So just so you know. Now I like to kind of loosen these up a little bit at a time. Work your way back and forth because there's no adjustment on the individual rocker. So when you start loosening the shaft, it loosens up all the rockers as you go. So if you just buzzed, like these two out, it put a lot of pressure on this shaft, and I just don't think it's a good idea. So just kind of work them through. You'll see, if you watch, you can see it starting to come up. Just a couple turns per bolt, work your way back and forth. I don't know if you would bend the shaft, but I mean, it doesn't take any longer really. Once you get it to the point where everything's loose and no tension on your bolts, then you can buzz them out, as fast as you want, however you want. I would normally use a power tool on this and buzz these out real quick after you're broke loose. But and since I'm switching to the Eagle heads on this, like I said, this is a 06 block engine. I'm going to use the Eagle rockers and valve covers and the heads, all Eagle stuff. So I will probably be needing these bolts, so we'll save these bolts, and the rest of stuff will be going away. So you're on your own for the rest. I'll show you how to do the first one. Next time you see it, it'll be all disassembled. Well, as you can see, I got all the rocker gear off on both sides. Push rods are out. Next up is O2 sensor. It's located in the top rear of the exhaust manifold. And there's a plug right down here behind the head. It's just a squeeze the tab and pull on it. One thing to keep in mind when you're working on these edges, like right here on the top of the spark plug tube, the inside edge of the tube, the inside edge of the head are razor sharp, and they will get you. So watch your fingers, watch the back side of your hands when you're wrestling around in here. That stuff is razor sharp. Same thing on this side, the Bluetooth sensor's way back here on the back side of the manifold on this one, and plug is right down here behind the head. Sometimes on those plugs you have to slip them together a little bit to get that tab to release, and then push the tab and it'll pull apart. And that one's kind of a tricky spot here behind the head with the, the dipstick in the way. It's right pinch between the dipstick and the block. So here we go. Next up, we'll go down and pull the bolts off that connect the mid pipes, which have the catalytic converters in them to the exhaust, all that. So we'll disconnect those from the manifold. We'll take a look at that. Okay, so next up under here, I'm gonna get these down pipes disconnected from the exhaust manifold. They're 16 millimeter. There's 2 bolts, one there and then one 180 degrees up on the top side. So I'm gonna go ahead and buzz these off with air tools, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, so we're back up top here. I have the manifolds unbolted on both sides, just the 2 bolts that bolt the down pipes, or the down pipes to the manifold. My car had some mismatched nuts on there. Somebody must have had it on when they did the Flowmaster catback system on it. So, but they should be 15s or 16s on there. I had both sides. So, okay, for the head bolts, you got 10 main head bolts, 15 millimeter up top and bottom, and then you got some 10 millimeter here. These 5 little guys here. So we'll get those broke loose and buzz them out. You will need a good sized ratchet for this job, or air tools. Shorter extension on there. Definitely hear stuff moving around in there. Yourself a handy magnet. Discard these right out of here. It is okay to reuse your head bolts, but you will want to inspect them. You should want to see good thread, and you don't want any like taper or look like the bolt's stretched and skinny through there. So you should be able to notice good thread and just a straight, nice straight thread pitch through there. You can reuse those. Okay, this head should be ready to come off. Might need to do a little prying, but we'll give it a touch. Oh, she's loose. Manifolds, everything comes out in one piece. So as you can see, my piston's at top dead center, which is good. Get this head gasket out. We'll see if this is an original. Now the head gaskets are side to side marked, so you don't put it on the wrong side. Make sure everything's right. It does have a factory Mopar part number on it, so we'll assume it's original. So as you can see here, we have our lifter trays. I'll be switching to Hellcat lifters, so I won't be reusing these. My lifters came with new trays. So 8mm bolt right in the center between each tray. If you plan on reusing your lifters, try to keep them in the same holes so you know where they go. 8mm bolt. They just slide out. Don't be surprised if your lifter stays in the hole. It's not a, that's how they are. Grab a magnet. Grab your handy magnet and just pull them out. Like I said, I won't be reusing these. So they can go in the spare parts bin. I'll be saving all this stuff because you just never know. And you might need something, or a friend, or whatever, somebody. The only thing you won't be able to save is those MDS solenoids. They don't come out in one piece. The Magnum I worked on, the other Magnum, one of them was brand new and it popped out. So somebody had had an issue with that one at some point. But the way you got to get them apart, they don't usually not savable. Go ahead and wipe the cylinders out and we'll kind of have a look at this. Actually surprised to see as much carbon buildup on there as I do, because I do not baby this thing. Drive it like I stole it most of the time. Cylinders look real good. There's no ridge at the top. You know, usually that top ½ inch to ¼ inch on most blocks will have a ridge there where the rings have been cutting into the bottom part. Yep. Seems like she's pretty good for that. So there's that side. Next time I come back, the other side will be off. You know what to do there. So catch you later. So here we are on the passenger side. Remember how I told you everything's just a little bit tighter to work on over here? One thing I remembered was right down here is a 10mm stud coming off the manifold supporting this dipstick tube. You pull that out too, and then the dipstick tube comes out. Pretty sure that's all that's holding it in. But yeah, you get that out of there and the head will come off. So one last little tidbit of tech for you for the day, and I'm just gonna be it for today. If you picked one of these up, or your own car blew a head gasket and you're just pulling the heads off and replace the head gasket, go ahead and pull these lifters out. You know, just pull the trays off, pull the lifter out one at a time, and inspect this little roller wheel. It's not uncommon for these little wheels to start showing some signs of wear, or, you know, the other Magnum I did, it had big scores in the wheel, and then when we pulled the cam out, the load was just, it was probably like a few thousand miles from just going right into crapper. But anyway, inspect these wheels, make sure your lifters look good. You can also check for any type of side play, or, well, it'll have side play, but it shouldn't have, you know, you shouldn't be able to pull it in and out. It should be nice and tight on that wheel. So give those a look. You know, if they're good, throw them back in, but I would, you know, I like to replace them if you got it this far apart. Just